I love to see the towns passing by and to ride these rails neath God's blue sky. Let me travel this land from the mountains to the sea, 'cause that's the life I believe He meant for me. And when I'm gone and at my grave you stand, say God called home your rambling man.
Welcome to Ramblin' Man Podcast, episode number 81. This one's a little different. What with this being such a shitty year, I decided that I wanted to talk to a bunch of different people on what they thought of this year and what they were grateful for, if anything. And what I got was a ton of positive messages, but still owning that this was a rough year for a lot of people. Gotta be honest, a big driver to do this episode was what a dick punch this has been as a year for me. So I guess what I am grateful for is having a ton of people in my life that would be willing to sit down and talk about what 2020 meant to them. No sponsor this week. There's a lot going on in the world right now, and if you really want to help, really want to give back, really want to show support, find Black-owned businesses in your community and support them, but don't just support them now and get a pat on the back. Support them in perpetuity. And if you'd like to give any money, go to blacklivesmatter.com and give money there. Find a local chapter and do what you can, no matter what. Thank you again for listening. Without much further ado, here's the episode.
Hey, Jody, it's Rob, Knoxville Rob. I just wanted to, I can't enumerate the things that I'm grateful for this year in a quick little statement, but number one, I'd like to thank the Lord, thank everybody for, just joining us and helping us do a record-breaking year in real estate sales. Usually we average about 70 to 80 houses a year. This year we sold 130, and nothing seems to be slowing down. So thank you for sending some awesome folks, and thank all of my friends and family who've recommended me and the other Hutch and Howard crew. Also super thankful for Amy and her helpfulness and patience during this time, and I'm very thankful for Dickens, our little Havanese, who has joined us this year, and he was a COVID pet. He actually joined us the first day that Amy was home from work, and so they've never spent a day completely apart. And he's been a joy and positive energy in my life and hers. Also, of course, we're thankful for Patton, our other puppy, as well. But my parents, who've suffered through the COVID crisis in a small town where it started out there was nobody, and then all of a sudden a whole bunch of people, and it's a high COVID area, but my parents, I'm thankful that they're safe and, they're healthy. And my dad made it through double bypass surgery this year, and I'm thankful to still have him around and have him vibrant and healthy. And I think, if anything, that's plenty. But, I'm just 100% thankful for all the team members that we have in my real estate company, and just all the good folks. I'm thankful for you, Jody. You always add positivity to the world and everything around you. So thanks a lot. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
So my name is Rachel Ellis, and I'm the Director of Development for Second Harvest Food Bank. And I am grateful for the community in East Tennessee. And the reason that I am grateful is because when the pandemic began, right around the end of March, start of April, I can tell you that I would say I answered 15 to 20 calls a day from people who had never ever thought that they would be in a situation where they couldn't provide for their family in regards to food. So I had adult men calling and crying on the phone, and there's literally nothing that will break you down more than hearing somebody at their absolute wit's end. They don't know what else to do. And the beautiful part of that is that we were able to help them. And so there's one part of that is heartbreaking, but the other part comes from the community in East Tennessee. Because East Tennessee is so generous to the food bank, we are able to help all of those people and continue to help everyone who's in need. But obviously that happens and happened prior to the pandemic and will continue for a while. Hopefully I'll work myself out of a job and we will have no more hunger in East Tennessee, and that would be ideal for everybody. But I don't think that's going to be happening anytime soon. But that's what I'm the most grateful for. We had an outstanding fundraiser last Thursday during our Double Your Donation Day. I had set a goal for the team to raise $1 million. And because of the community in East Tennessee, we raised $2 million. And so I remember being on the phone about 15 minutes before the end of the fundraiser, and a woman called and she was donating $5,000. And I literally started bawling my eyes out. And I kept telling her, I really am a professional. I am so sorry that I am crying. I could not get my words together. I couldn't get her contact information in the computer appropriately. I just lost it. The fact that she was helping us get to that $2 million mark was something I never thought could happen. I said it could because I like to put that out into the world, into the energy, but I didn't actually think it would happen. And then I'm sure you are aware that Mackenzie Scott gave Second Harvest a very generous donation of $9 million. And so it's been, it's just been outstanding. I don't know how to explain the gratefulness that I have. So that is what I am grateful for.
I am Chris Weathers, here with Jody, Rambling Man, and the question is, what am I grateful for in 2020? We're almost at the end of it. It's been bad for the most part for a lot of people around the world, not just the U.S., but everywhere. And what silver lining do you take from that? Here in the U.S. in particular, we're coming to the end of a very turbulent presidency. We're coming at we've been more and more divided as a country, and that's not due just to the presidency, but it's technology. We often find ourselves in our own bubbles, and we hear and we consume media based on our own preference. That's one thing that's happened this year. One of the things I'm grateful for is honestly the people in my life. We're awesome. We're all awesome people, because what happened this year was a lot of people got exposed. We were subjected to the world's largest IQ test, and we as a whole failed it. We flunked it. We didn't mask up. We were breathing in each other's face, and now we're having a very difficult end of the year, beginning of the new year. We've had we've just been exposed. just as a people. My friends are cool. That's the beauty of this whole thing. I really like the people that are in my life. We're smart, we do great things, we're sensible, we're open-minded, and I'm lucky for that. We're awesome, and it's cool. All my friends. I've learned a lot about myself too. I'm like, I'm a pretty cool guy myself. I wore my mask. I did everything I could do. Like I told my friend, I said, if I get COVID-19, she's going to have to break into my house and sneak up my nose in the middle of the night for me to get it. And we, like I said, it's a lot has been exposed this year. But I think that's a good thing. I think we do need to know our inner racial bias. I think we do need to know our own ignorance. A lot of people got caught up bragging on Facebook about not wearing a mask, only to end up with coronavirus. And so it's been a sprinkle of reckoning here and there for the U.S., for the world. And I can only hope that we take all that into 2021 and make that year, next year, a year of healing. A year of healing and a year of prosperity. I can only hope, because if 2021 is a repeat of 2020, it's going to be probably the least fun thing I've ever done besides chew aluminum. For that couple seconds, I chewed aluminum back in 1993. And so everything's out on the table. We've learned now how corrupt CEOs can be, how corrupt politicians can be, how corrupt lots of just high-ranking members of society can really be. But on the other side of that spectrum, we've learned real, true human decency. We see the frontliners in the hospitals and in schools and in our neighbors. We've seen the good in human beings. Instead of living that centrist life where, some good and some bad, I feel like I go every day and I see a lot of bad and I see a lot of good just on this massive spectrum. We've maintained our sanity for the most part. I feel bad for a lot of different industries. The restaurant industry in particular, they have been hit really hard. Obviously, the healthcare industry, they're still, it's almost, the opposite. Food industry, nobody's going out. They're hemorrhaging money. And the healthcare industry they've doubled in capacity almost, and they can't handle it. I hope that mellows out next year. But in 2020, I keep seeing those memes where it says, 11:59 p.m., at the end of 2020. And then it goes into like January, like December 32nd. And I'm just like, oh no, what the it's been such a year that a meme is scaring me. But but other than that, like I said, realize how great the people are around me. Love all my friends, love all my family. You sometimes you take your upbringing for granted, and you get to see just the bad and evil layers that are really deep down in other people's hearts, and all you can do is go, I'm glad that's not me and my people. Some people are just messed up, and a lot of people go through life really holding on tight. Just they're just trying to keep it all in. They're trying to not tip, and then try not to tilt. It could be anything. It could be borderline this or borderline that or borderline. It all came out this year. If you were a borderline like homophobe or something like that, it came out. Borderline racist, it came out. If you were borderline anything, it came out in full effect. Any bad person, like bad way to be, it came out. And we're all guilty of it to an extent. But for the people who are on the borderline, oh man, I saw what you did and did not post. I saw it all. It was, sometimes silence is very loud. Middle of the year, we had an incident with police, and the George Floyd incident, and nobody's obligated to say anything to anybody, but silence can be loud sometimes. It can be very loud, and it can echo for a long time. And so, like I said, that was right in the middle of the year. I think in April or May. We have a lot of work to do. We've got a ton of work to do just as people. And I think 2020 laid out the roadmap for us to become better just as humans. So.
All right, so my name is Holly Tyler, and I live in Chicago, and I currently am a graphic designer, all freelance, and this year I do have a lot to be grateful for. I obviously want to say that I'm grateful for my family and my health and my husband and all those good things that I am very, very grateful for. I feel like they're not as exciting to talk about, and so I will say that one thing that I'm really grateful for that I had no idea would happen going into 2020, but was essentially a silver lining from the pandemic and everything that's been caused, was I got into grad school, and I'm really excited about it. And so even though I'm a graphic designer and I really love what I do, I had been thinking about going back to grad school essentially ever since I left undergrad. It's been something I wanted to do. And then my career was starting to get momentum, and I was really loving what I was doing. But I still had this feeling in the back of my head that I want to do something a little more academic, potentially relating to psychology or something along those lines with human behavior, and something a little bit more, in my mind, helpful. And so when the pandemic hit and I started losing some of that momentum that I was really excited about, it gave me the opportunity to look at what I was doing with my life and make some changes. And I thought about becoming a professional pilot because that is something I've always wanted to do. But I also am really good at crashing things, and I'm not a good driver. And I thought that's a lot of money to spend becoming a professional pilot for something I would likely not be successful at. And so I thought I could also be a real estate agent, but I hate sales. And so I decided I wanted to do a psychology program, or essentially become a mental health counselor, for a really long time. And so I started looking into that. But it was something, it's really big, and it's a big cost, and it's a huge commitment and just a huge change. And so it was something that had scared me for several years. And I finally just had to get over it and say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit. I don't know if I'll get into programs. I was really scared about that. And so I spent the whole summer taking some prerequisites and volunteering at a couple different places to get into that field. And it's been life-changing. And so I applied to programs back in the fall, and I got accepted into the college I wanted to go to. So it's a neurocounseling program. And in 3 years, I'll be a therapist. And so I'm really grateful for that, even though this year has been really challenging and made me question everything. I feel like I've come out with a totally different plan and something a little bit more concrete, where I feel very, very confident and very excited about what I'll be able to do with this in the long term. And then through volunteering, I've made some good friends and gotten to see people, which has been a challenge throughout the pandemic. I'm a little more on the extroverted side, and so the quarantine has been really difficult. So I'm just grateful for having the opportunity to make some really positive changes from something that was really stressful and negative there at the beginning.
All right, my name is Brent, and I am grateful for so much in 2020, and I've been trying to remind myself of how much I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for my family, which I imagine a lot of people have thought of this year because they're hopefully around them a whole lot more. I actually had the chance to see my daughter take her first steps because I was working from home, and it just really, this year has hammered home how much I was probably missing by being at work meetings and work events and travel and things like that. So first and foremost, definitely my family. This year more than ever, I've tried to get outside and do things outdoors. And so I'm so grateful to live in East Tennessee where there are so many trails and mountains nearby. And for me, as someone who loves to run, being able to do trail runs is something I'm just extremely grateful for this year more than ever before, since I am spending so much time outdoors. I am so grateful for this community. I've lived in a lot of other places, and I feel so much of a sense of community, which I think is really, really, really important every year, but especially this year. Working in the nonprofit field, I just see how much the community has stepped up to support small businesses, nonprofits, each other. And I honestly don't know if I, would have made it through this year as well as I have without the community that I have around me. I could go on about so many other things that I'm grateful for this year, but I think that the fact that I have my health and my family and a home and a job is just, really something to be grateful for. And the last thing I'll say is just the fact that I'm grateful for the fact that this year has been a little slower. I think that we probably all need to slow down a little bit more to have that extra conversation, to read that book. For me, every morning I'm able to have a second cup of coffee that I wasn't able to have before. And there's been plenty of times that my wife and I have been able to just sit around the kitchen while we're waiting on our daughter to wake up and just sit there and chat and drink coffee, which prior to 2020, we just generally didn't have or didn't make the time. So I think it's really important to focus on gratitude every year. I will be doing it even more in the future. And I think this is the year when I've thought about what I'm grateful for more than ever. So I will end this by saying I am grateful that 2021 is coming. And I think that it will be hopefully a year of healing and hope. Maybe not right away, but I'm grateful for 2021 being just around the corner as well.
My name is Eleanor Scott.
My name is Adam Deal.
And this year in 2020, we started a small press.
Slipstream Fiction.
Slipstream Fiction. We need to get better at saying what we are. Partly a small press. And it hasn't been a bad year, actually. We got to spend a lot of time with our kids, and we got to spend a lot of time working on our house, and we got to spend way more time together than we usually do, because for years and years we've had opposite schedules and haven't gotten to hang out a lot.
So in a strange way, the whole coronavirus thing was sort of a blessing for us. But
yeah, in a lot of ways. Adam, did you want to talk about working on the drawings?
Drawings for the Dreams in the Witch House.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that enabled me to finish up that book. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten it done this year, I don't think. So, yeah, so I spent the couple of months I was locked down here working as hard as I could to finish that book, and here we are. So now we're working on the next one. Looking forward to finishing that one sometime in the next few months. And
No spoilers. No spoilers.
We give the title, right?
Yeah. Well, it's called Weird South, and it's a collection of short stories. It's not a graphic novel; it's a graphic short story collection. But we've just been calling it the comic book.
It is in a comic book format, though.
Yeah, the comic book.
My name is Savannah Hops, and this year I am grateful for the ability that we had to knock out 3 pretty big goals that maybe without the extra time would maybe not have all happened in 1 year. But so I'm into not like, I guess it's manifesting technically is what it's called. But it's a journaling habit where you write goals, but you write them as if they've already happened so that you're kind of like speaking them into existence, if you will. So it can be, I'm a millionaire, or I own my home, or whatever. So I had 10 that I started probably September of last year. And one of them was in the past 5 or so years, I've gotten into Neighborhood Bar, which is a bar fitness studio. It's actually locally owned in Knoxville. And then now it's franchised in, I think, 5 different states. But there is a location in Maryville now. And Austin and I moved out here in August of 2019. So I kind of just got into the community here, which I was super nervous about because I didn't know anybody, which sounds silly because we just moved from Knoxville to Alcoa. But when you don't know anybody, you don't know anybody. And a lot of people from generationally Blount County. And so it was just kind of like not intimidating. I'm not super great with new people, so I just wasn't how it was going to go. But I had been writing that I was a Neighborhood Bar instructor in my journal since September of last year, just because it felt very out of my comfort zone. And I felt like I hadn't done anything like that in quite a few years. I've been at the same job for 4 years now. I've lived in Knoxville since I was in the 4th grade and then went to UT. So, I mean, I never left, so I've just felt like I hadn't really done a lot in the past few years to push myself out of my comfort zone. And then actually the weekend of March 13th, which is the timing's just very funny, was when I did a 3-day training for Neighborhood Bar. And it was really hard. It was really tiring. I mean, it's 3 days of, there's like some school type stuff of like learning the anatomy and all that kind of thing, but you really are just learning how to teach a class. And by the end of it, felt very confident in it. And so that was cool. Mind you, I didn't actually teach a class until like July because gym shut down and all that shortly thereafter. But that was one of the things that I had written down. And it was kind of the first of the 3 that had been on that manifesting list. And so that was a cool thing to accomplish. And Austin had been encouraging me to do it for a while. And so even though I wasn't able to do it for months, it was something I think that was a little encouragement maybe at the beginning of all of this before it happened. And then my 2 of 3 was I had written, We Are Homeowners. Austin and I got married in May 26th of 2019 and had lived with a friend. And then we were, it's one of those, we left the friends, but our lease hadn't started. So we're kind of nomading for like 3 weeks, which when you're newlyweds and living with your in-laws for like 2 weeks, it's just like, I mean, I love my in-laws. They're great people. He loves them because they're his parents, but it was just like, wasn't super ideal. I mean, we have a dog. I mean, it was just, so we moved into an apartment and then I started writing We Are Homeowners, and we had been like Dave Ramseying the heck out of our lives. But we really didn't think it would be possible for probably another year. But in March, it was the very beginning of being home. I'd been home for, I'd been home for 2 weeks. He had been going to work. And we just went out and started driving around and weirdly found our house. And because of the way the interest rates were at the very beginning of the pandemic, we actually were able to get into a house much sooner than we had originally anticipated. So that's what I've been saying is my biggest silver lining of the pandemic has been being able to be homeowners a lot sooner than we thought we would be. I mean, and we're just in this cool, it's all very funny how it happened, because March 3rd, I went and voted, and I voted at Alcoa High School, left, had never really been in Alcoa. And it was just a really cool neighborhood, like right around the schools. It's so cool in Alcoa. And I called him and I was like, when we start to look, because we had just been looking in Marable City, and we just started to look in Alcoa and loved it. But yes, it's awesome that we have a house, and I appreciate that. But for me personally, it was huge because I'm very, I'm a planner, like big time. Like I have to have a plan A through H before I feel like I can commit to doing something. And I feel like I need to have X amount of money before I do this thing. And Austin's very much more of the impulse person between the two of us. So for us, it's a great balance. It really is, because if it were him, we'd live in a van roaming the country. I mean, we'd have so much fun, but after 3 weeks, we'd have $18 left, so, so it's like a very fine balance between the two of us. But I will say, I don't know if it was being scared because I didn't know what was about to happen. I don't know if it was I'd been inside around, but when we were pre-approved to when we closed, it was only like 40 something days or something like that. Like it was insane. And so normally that is just not something I would have been like down to do. But literally his mom was like, you guys should go get pre-qualified. And normally I'd be like, well, I have to do research on that, and I need to look this up, and I need to see how much money we need to have. But I was just like, sure. And that was a Sunday. And the next day we called a mortgage loan processor, got pre-qualified, and then put an offer on our house that Thursday, which was March 26th. And we closed April 30th. So it was just like, and like nothing went wrong. Like not one time was there like any sort of weird paperwork we didn't have, or like, I'd had friends who have bought houses and it was just like kind of a cluster. And so I was grateful that not only were we in a new home, but the process, besides the regular stresses, and we had a whole thing with our mail because USPS tried to tell me my house didn't exist. So that was a whole thing. I literally had to offer for the lady to follow me from work to my house so I could show her that it was a real place, that I had better things to do than prank call the post office. That's a whole other thing. But thankfully I get mail here, so I'm grateful for that too. But that was kind of 2 of 3 of feeling like I did something that I normally wouldn't do, that because of his kind of zest for life, quite literally put us in a place physically that we could have together. And it's just like working from this place versus working from the apartment that we were in, because I've been working from home since basically April. I was in the office for maybe 6 weeks when, we kind of thought everything was going to get back to normal. And then after July 4th, it was like, well, this is going south again. So it was kind of a step outside of my comfort zone thing again, but also like it was a great like proof of like the hard work we had been doing in Dave Ramseying our life, 10 months before had been proven to be very beneficial for us. And then the third thing that was something I had written was, and this was one that I was hesitant about, like saying I'm so grateful for, because I'm not blind to the fact that a lot of this year for a lot of people has been an economic and financial hardship more than anything else. I work very closely to it, and I do not doubt that. And part of this is because Austin and I have had our jobs all year, and we definitely, I mean, we've both been in the thick of it in different ways. He's a emergency room and ICU nurse, and I work at a nonprofit. And so in different ways, we've both been really pushed to our limits this year. So we are very grateful that we both had jobs. But I will say, I think this was a possibility in the amount of time it was because we weren't traveling, and we travel a lot. Like we really try not to buy a bunch of stuff for each other. And for, if we buy stuff for the house, we feel like it's stuff that we feel like it's adding value. It's not just something we think looks cool or whatever. So with us not traveling, I mean, my gosh, I've got a lot of vouchers if anyone needs them. I don't know if anyone's going anywhere, but got Allegiant, Southwest, JetBlue, and American Airlines. So thankfully British Airways refunded our money. So that's a good one. But I mean, we were supposed to go on a 3-week trip to Europe in October. Obviously didn't happen. But since September of last year, I had been writing in this journal that we are credit card debt free. I made $12 an hour at my first job out of college, which sounded great. And it's just, once you're paying rent and doing all those things and you're 22, it's just like, it's not going to pay your rent. It's not going to buy you groceries and put 4 new tires on your car. So I started a bad habit of, I'll just put the $900 for tires on a credit card and just like pretend like it's going to go away at some point. And then, it doesn't, it actually gets worse. So, just between like not making that much plus probably not making super practical decisions, it just became a much bigger problem than I think I kind of wanted to sit down and assess. But we have really been working a budget. I mean, I'm a college graduate and on my way, closer to 30 than 20, but I was still babysitting because that's what Dave Ramsey tells you to do, is you do all the stuff that like you don't really want to do, and you sell stuff and you don't go out to eat and you don't, I called it Dave Ramsey Light because we didn't totally stop living our life. We paid cash for everything, but we paid almost $22,000 off from September of 2019 to October of 2020. And I can assure you that we are not your highest income friend. We are not your third highest income friend or seventh. Like, I can assure you that. Like I said, he's a less than 2-year experienced nurse and I work at a nonprofit and we do just fine, but we are not by any means rolling in it or flashing the cash or any of the things that people say. But I think that, I hate to sound like cliche and say there's a lesson to come from everything, but I do think that we prove to ourselves that, we can do, and it's in a year where, I don't know. It's just like, that's part of what feels weird about it is, but it's something I am really proud of. Like, that took a lot of discipline and hard work. And like, Austin worked 2 jobs to make that happen. And not since COVID happened, I haven't been babysitting, but, I did, it was a cool thing of writing a goal and then doing the work to see it all the way through. And I think I don't know, are we still considered newlyweds? I don't know when it like cuts off. I don't know how that works. No one told me that part. But I think for like, as far as like foundational setting a foundation for a marriage. Like, I'm obviously not a pro. Like I said, I don't even know if we're in the newlywed window still, but I just feel very confident in moving forward in our life, in that we were able to set these goals in a year that I feel like just surviving was like, you did it. Here's a gold star. Like, everyone, I mean, everyone needs just therapy from the government, just subsidized once a month just for making it through this year, right? Like, but I just really am proud and grateful for the time and the discipline and all three of those things definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone. I mean, I still get terrified when I teach. Like, I am sweating profusely by the end of it. And that's it's a workout class, but at the same time, people are staring at you. But it's just because I'm so scared and my heart rate gets really high. But it's like, I'm really proud every time I finish it. And it's something that was hard, and it's something that I had to work through. And then, like, the house was out of my comfort zone, but something that we had been wanting. And then, obviously it would have been way cooler to do something else with $20,000. I mean, but I can tell you that we will never get in that place again. And I felt like it opened up like an opportunity because for me, I've lived in a lot of shame with that debt. Like, no one had really talked to me about money growing up, like, at all. And neither of our parents did, but in very different ways. It was like, for me, I think my parents didn't want to talk about it because there wasn't a whole lot of it. And also, like, the ease of credit cards right now is substantially different than it was 20 years ago. So I think that, and my parents never really used them. So there was no guidance there, really. The fact that they'll give you 5 at 22 is absurd at $12 an hour. But we will just never be there again. And I think that set some really good habits. And in all the scary and awful of this year, it really put us in a mindset where we were grateful to be where we were, but we knew we wanted to prepare better for the future in case, God forbid, and I'm not going to manifest this, but if something bad were to happen in the future, like what's happening, that we would be prepared. But then also, like, we wanted to be a resource to anyone else who felt like they were living in this debt shame, because it can be like embarrassing and people aren't talking about it. And so it's been kind of nice to share that knowledge with people, and just like the hope of that this doesn't have to be like your forever if you just change some habits and maybe live your life a little differently for a little while. So, and like I said earlier, we do not sleep on the fact that we know it's a rare thing this year that both of us have still been able to work and provide. And we have done our best to serve and give where we can, knowing that. And so I'm grateful that that's something that we've been able to do. But I hope that I wasn't rambling too bad. But big takeaway here is I don't think that 3 of my 10 big important goals of kind of, they didn't really have a timeline, I guess, which they tell you, your goals are supposed to or they won't happen. But I think that's kind of BS anyways, but because I think you limit yourself when you do that. But there's no way, I don't think, that in any other 11-month period of time, would it have been super realistic for all three of those things, especially the house and the credit cards, to happen in the same year? Just because we weren't spending money anywhere else really, or, beyond normal life things. So it feels, cliche to try to find the silver linings and all that. But I think that, I could definitely stand to practice gratitude a little more. There's studies that you're just like a generally happier person, and, you can let life kind of roll, the hard stuff kind of roll off you if you really are practicing gratitude often. So I think this was a cool prompt for me to have to think about at the end of the year. Because I think if you look at 2020 as a whole, you could definitely be like, I can't wait to see all the Instagram captions, right? Like, it's just going to be everyone like, what a dumpster fire, and I'm glad to see this one go, and, all those things. But the truth of the matter is, there really were, and I know I say this from a place of different than a lot of people, but there were definitely some little lights and people showing up for people, and it being some moments of hope in the midst of all of the mess. So I appreciate you making me take a second to think about that. So.
Well, hi, my name is Stephanie Romer, and I am grateful for a lot of things. Obviously, this year's been weird, but somehow we've managed to pull through, and it's the rough patches still have been enlightening. My husband lost his job when the coronavirus hit, but he was only out of work for a couple of months. So he's been back at work. He's now official, been through the temporary period, and he's on their payroll and, back to getting vacation and holiday and stuff again. So that's good. And it didn't really impact us too terribly much. But, we didn't know for a while how things were going to go. So I can certainly identify with what a lot of other people are dealing with. And health-wise, everybody's been good. My family's good. My dad passed away back in November, but we had not been able to see him because of the coronavirus since March. And I did actually get to see him right before he passed away. And that's probably the thing I'm the most grateful for this year, because I know that there are so many other people that have lost loved ones and couldn't be together. And so my mom was with him. And that's just, we're extremely fortunate, and I'm so grateful that, they made some exceptions for us to be able to get in and see him, because it was not COVID related. So I should preface with that. But, and then the other thing that we're super grateful for, and the thing that has kept us sane throughout this whole year, has been the dog. We adopted a Hobbit from a rescue group early last year, and we wanted a dog that we could take with us places, go sit on the patio at a brewery and take him, and go travel, and wanted a dog that would be good in the car and all those things. And then we get this dog and we can't go anywhere. We can't go sit on any patios. He does like to go in the car, but it turns out that he doesn't really like being around other dogs. So it's okay. It's worked out well for all of us. But I truly don't know how we would have kept our sanity this year if we hadn't had him. And we both work from home. So he's good to help us with our schedule. He has an impeccable internal clock, and he knows when it is time to go for a walk. He knows when it's time to eat, and he comes in regularly and will drop a toy and say, hey, pay attention to me. And so he makes us get up and, move around and walk away from the computer for a little bit. And he's, making us get out and exercise more. So that's good. But he has just brought so much joy to both of us. And it's just mentally and physically, he's been so good. And it's just totally changed our worlds. I can't even remember what it was like before we got him, honestly. And I don't know what we'll do, if the day ever comes we don't have him anymore, but he's been a godsend this year. So yeah, I am happy, grateful for, good friendship this year. Had a lot of friends that also helped keep us sane, including yours truly.
Yeah, I was going to say I will jump in here to talk because I'm going to make you talk about the virtual Tiki events.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to leave all this in so everyone will hear this, but you all did those virtual Tiki events that I think helped a lot of people.
Well, I mean, we were just hanging out in the bar and, doing Zoom meetings. And, we started out, something else I've said I'm grateful for is Turn Club. That, God love them. They opened November of last year. And, so they weren't open that long when COVID hit. And I don't know how they've managed to keep it together. God love them. I can't imagine the stress that they've been under because they had to close for a while and then, open at limited capacity. And it's already, a pretty small place. But before they shut down, we were able to go in and do some in-person events there. And those were fun. Tim got to go in and talk about Tiki history and talk about the Mai Kai and, Polynesian pop Tiki culture and stuff, and got to meet a lot of people in town that, some people didn't know anything about Tiki, and some people thought they knew about Tiki, and then they came and learned a whole lot more, and got to see a lot of friends. We had friends that came in from, East Tennessee, Bristol area that drove in just for that, to come see it. So to get to have some, fellowship, hanging out with fellow Tiki files is always cool. So when that stopped, it was like, we can still do this. So we had a couple of, virtual Zoom meetings and a couple of nights where it was just hanging out, drinking cocktails in the bar, and whoever else wanted to join in and have a cocktail or not, whatever, just come hang out.
No, I'm going to also hop back in here and say, or not was not an option. One large gentleman bald with a beard got shamed into drinking a beer during one of them. It's like, really? You're just going to sit there and drink water out of your big UT cup? I was like, well, yeah, I'm kind of tired. I didn't want to. Okay, I think you want a beer. And just kept getting shamed into drinking a beer. And I can't even remember what beer I drank. It was delicious, but I made it work the entire 3 hours or whatever we were on that Zoom. I was like, oh, God, okay, I'll drink a beer.
Well, I mean, not a requirement, but whatever. You would have drink in hand if you'd been here. We would have handed you one.
Oh yeah.
Would have been awesome.
Yeah. Yes and yes.
My name is Chris Alstott, and I am grateful for my family, my wife, and my 19-month-old daughter, and our upcoming daughter that's due in April. Just very grateful for having the family I do. I know it's hard for a lot of people to have families on their own, and it's made me come to realize how much of a miracle having your own children and spouse is, and just being able to have that kind of family and love and support.
So how has that been, having such a little one during the pandemic with another one on the way? I feel like it's just a stress sandwich, stress on stress on stress.
There's stress, but it makes me thankful and grateful to have her in my life, and it also eases the stress as well throughout. And yeah.
So anything that happens during the day or any of the normal undue stress is like almost like lifts away once you get home and get to see her. Is that how it
definitely.
is?
Family time is definitely the best way to unwind and de-stress from life and everything. And yeah.
And how as someone with young ones, does this make you kind of reassess what you think about for the future for them, or are you like, what does that mean to you?
As in, what do you mean by that?
Almost like you've got these young babies, and it's like, okay, now this has made me almost. Did it make you reevaluate at all, like the priorities in your life this year?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like makes you value time with family and just being together and supporting each other and just having all the love there.
Yeah. And getting ready for the new one to grace your presence.
Right. Yeah.
And you said in April?
In April. Yeah.
In April. And is it, do you all feel like this year has allowed you all to have time to prepare more, or do you feel like it's been a little bit harder to get things ready for the second baby?
I'd say a little bit of both.
Okay.
Definitely not as much time to prepare since we have to take care of our daughter as well. But so it feels like it's gone by so fast, but we're also more prepared and knowing what to do.
Yeah, we've been through this before. So
yeah, but there'll still be lots of unknowns and everything, but it'll be good.
Do you know who Christopher Titus is? He's a comedian.
Yeah.
So he has a funny joke about having the second kid. And he was like, the first kid, he was like in the delivery room. He was like, my wife wanted me to take a picture every second. So it was like, here she is at 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and 7 seconds because dumbass couldn't load the camera. Right.
Yeah.
He's like, and the second baby, he was like, I might need to hire a sketch artist for if he ever gets lost. So he was like, yeah, you just kind of, he didn't want to talk about like a comfort level, but it was like, okay. Some of that stress is relieved with the second baby.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So,
so how are you feeling about 2021? Are you excited to get there? And do you have much belief in that once the year rolls over, it's a fresh start?
I'll still be, but it's like, I feel like with the new year, it's more of a symbolic thing for hope and everything for everyone. Right.
Well, and it's also the year of a new baby. So
yeah,
that's you're riding in charge, like to battle, like year of new baby. Here we come.
Yeah. Things to look forward to.
Yeah. It'll be spring and everything will be good. We won't be sitting in 12-degree weather with 6 inches of snow outside.
Oh yeah.
Although it is Knoxville.
I'm grateful for the white Christmas. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's probably going to be 80 degrees come next week.
It'll be 80 degrees next week. And then in April, it'll be back down to 20 and snowing.
Yep. It's your typical weather in East Tennessee.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is the first white Christmas since I maybe was a little kid. I don't remember one more than just maybe a little bit of flurries or something. I don't remember anything this substantial.
My name is Rebecca Ridner, and I am grateful for the pressure cooker that 2020 was. I mean, the love and hate of it all. I feel like it forced me, and maybe a lot of people, I suspect, but I'm just speaking for myself, to really like stop and look inward. I thought 2020 was going to be this year of moving forward in all these areas of my life, but instead it was this halt to stop and like understand myself better, dig deep, figure out why I do things, why I don't do things, like saw all these areas I was holding myself back, understood better how I spend money, how I make money, understood better like about love. And in that, there was a lot of hard stuff that came out and a lot of hard things I had to look at. But I guess moving into like the end of this year, I can look back and see that pressure and that space and that like shift up and the way that like things weren't working the way that they had always worked before, or I thought they should work, suddenly made me have to reevaluate things and look at myself really hard. And I just kept thinking it's a year of preparation for what? I'm still not sure, but it just kept feeling like I'm being prepared for something. I'm being prepared to have to like do the really deep, hard work, so that hopefully that stuff's lifted and then we can glide into the next phase of whatever's going to happen with us all. But I am grateful for that, and also grateful that 2020 did provide this extra time to be with my kids, be with my family, especially at the beginning when we were all like hunkered down, quarantined. It kind of felt like an extended snow day. And so we were just there. We didn't have anywhere to have to go. We didn't have to run them around. Didn't have any schedules to have to keep up with. It's kind of this excuse just to be together. That eventually, wore off a little bit where it was a little too much togetherness. But I am thankful for that.
I'm George Middlebrooks, and I'm thankful for a lot of things. The obvious answer is my family, but that's it's true. We've been stuck together for the better part of the year, and we're not sick of each other yet, and that's nice. My wife and I have been stuck together for 24 years, and we're not sick of each other yet. So, for what that's worth, we've just kind of, everybody's had a weird year, and we've made the best of it. And we've done a lot of work around the house, and we've done a lot of little projects and hiking and board games and all that stuff. But I think it's been important to get out as much as we can, find ways to get out as much as we can when we can. We obviously haven't done any traveling this year, so we've kind of just found trails to get on and find the places that other people aren't. My daughter has gotten into hiking with me this year, and so that's been nice for us to kind of get out. My wife is not a hiker, and so that's a gift of alone time for her when we do get out. We made the horrible mistake of going to the Smokies a few weeks ago, and everybody was there. We drove through Gatlinburg, and I just yelled, "Just don't roll down your windows," because it was just a super spreader event. But I digress. Yeah, outdoors. I'm thankful for the outdoors. They haven't changed. They're still there for us, and we have pretty amazing resources around here for hiking trails and biking trails and places to get out and have a little bit of elbow room around you. I'm thankful that I've continued to work. I feel kind of guilty about it, but I've had pretty steady work throughout the year, and it's kept me busy, and it's kept me out of trouble and maybe too much. So I'm trying to kind of slow down this week. But yeah, just life goes on. Just trying to take care of everybody I can while I can. I'm getting a FaceTime call here. In a nutshell, I'm thankful that life goes on here. We're just trying to stay healthy and stay well and keep busy and keep doing the thing.
Since you have worked and you brought it up for so long by yourself, has that been a hard, because I come from corporations, so I'm used to hearing the term work-life balance. Has it been because I know I already know the spoiler alert to this one because I saw your post about it, but like, has it been harder this year without having the distractions to force yourself to get away from your computer?
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, that's like we were saying earlier, this is all I've known for the last 10 years. So it's not, it's only different because I'm working. My primary work is with a corporation. It's with people who have not worked from home and have kind of had to adjust to that over the last few months. And so they're learning about the work-life balance and sometimes non-existent work-life balance and just not turning off at the right time or ever. So I think just trying to work around that has been a challenge, but yeah, I've tried to make it to where I have pretty intense days and I don't really step away very much during the day, but when it's about 6 o'clock, I want to shut down and put on the lazy pants and actually watch TV.
That's awesome. I will, if I have not battered you about this, I want to get it on record somewhere. If you have not watched Ted Lasso is the best thing to come out of this year.
I've heard nothing but great things. I need to watch that. I'm a big Jason Sudeikis fan, and
it is equal parts
credit.
It's equal parts funny and kind of like weird, like you almost don't catch it the first time, like you catch it 5 seconds later. That kind of humor, but it's so heartwarming and heartfelt that it is really well done. If it was not set in England where the F word and the C word are dropped so much, I could almost say Naomi could almost watch it. but holy crap, does it have a lot of cussing? It is, but it is so heartwarming. I think it's the best word for it. Like I've already watched it twice. Like I can't get over how well done that show is. So when you put on your lazy pants,
I'll put that high on the list because I've still got my free Apple TV trial that I keep kind of forgetting is there. But I'll go back to that.
Yeah, that's
just I'm watching The Sopranos, which I'm just about 20 years behind on that. I realize. But I did it with The Wire. I watched The Wire for the first time last year, and just because I just never sat down and focused on it, and then I just blasted through it in 2 weeks. But I changed my phone plan, so I've got a free HBO Max subscription. So that's been in my second screen for the last week or so.
I watched The Wire. I got it oddly enough on like a Black Friday deal for the Blu-rays for like $35 or something for the entire thing. And I did the same thing 1 year around Christmas time. I was like, screw it. I'm just going to watch and I watched The Wire from beginning to end. Now, The Sopranos, I tried to start watching it, I think late last year. And it is so like, you have to pay attention and focus. I was like, I can't do this. And it's so heavy that I had a hard time. Like I would watch 3 episodes in a row and just be like, I need to breathe. I can't do this.
For sure.
But yeah, it's, but Ted Lasso is great, man. The Sopranos. And I remember watching it and thinking, this is good from episode 1. Like this is, you usually think it builds or something, but no, it was same thing with The Wire. That was the, what do you call it? Like palate cleansers. Sometimes you're doing work and you need something to just take your mind out. I sat there and watched clips from The Wire from like 45 minutes. This was like 2 weeks ago. I was like, oh God, there's Bunk. Bunk is the best.
Oh, yeah.
Just watching him give soliloquies is, oh God, it's so good.
You just need like an Omar with his shotgun supercut.
In a crummy year, the fact that Michael K. Williams reposted one of my Motivation Mondays where I quoted him on his Instagram, that was one I was like, did he just, oh God, he just reposted. Oh, and he was like, thanks, Feral Giant, for showcasing. I was like, yeah.
Oh, that's too cool. That's too cool.
In a crappy year, I'm going to take that all day long.
Those little bright spots. Absolutely.
My name is Stephanie Alanese, and I am grateful for all of the social revolutions that are happening right now, all of the acknowledgement and understanding and information that is existing to help resolve issues with marginalized communities. I'm also grateful for I have a fat book club, and we meet often and we talk about books that are by fat authors who are talking about their experiences as fat people. I'm grateful for my chosen family that I live with. I'm grateful for being able to roller skate on nice days to help with my mental health during this hard time, and having a community that I'm able to talk to about all of the injustices that are happening, as well as, mental health during a really hard time and a really bad year. And yeah.
I was going to hop in and say, is roller skating something new to you this year?
Yes.
Or it is.
Yep.
So how did you come to start roller skating?
I started roller skating. Well, my roommate and chosen family, Barbara, who lives with me, they were really wanting to roller skate and have roller skated in the past. And I didn't think I would be interested, but I think the more we talked about it, the more interested I became. And this was the first time I've ever been on roller skates, and I couldn't even walk in them. I was so afraid. And that was in July. And then now I'm able to do left turns and move forward. And so small victories. I'm still very scared. And I actually just fell backwards and landed my whole body on my ankle like a week ago. So my ankle hurts really bad right now, but that's okay because I'm just going to get stronger. And the more I fall, the less afraid of falling I get.
Yep.
So I'm grateful for falling too, I suppose.
It needs to be a bumper sticker. I'm grateful for falling with an overturned set of roller skates.
And I didn't break my ankle. And so small victory, It's just sprained. So.
Oh my God. I think the last time I went roller skating, I was in middle school and I fractured a bone all because I hit a wall too hard and I hit it at a wrong angle. And
yeah,
I didn't know my own force, my own momentum. Just wham, nailed it. And I was like, ow.
Sarah Ellis, who was at Aramont with us, she also has been roller skating and she broke her arm.
I remember that.
At the beginning of March, maybe, or June. It was sometime late spring, early summer.
I remember that because it seemed like it was daily updates on roller skating. Then all of a sudden next day it was like, here's my arm.
My arm's broken. Oh, poor
It's like, oh no.
I miss her. Man. She's fun.
Oh man. Yeah, that seems like it was 2 years ago.
It does seem like, I can't believe it. It's not even a year technically, because we all met in January. So almost a year.
Yeah. I'm going to tell them one of my friends, I drove down and visited them in St. Augustine, Florida. As a husband and wife. And she sent a Christmas card from them and said, I can't believe we didn't get to see you in 2020. We are going to make up for it in 2021. And I text her husband, who is my older friend. And I was like, can you tell her that I was down there in February? And he said, she just did a face palm. She was like, that was in February? I thought that was last August. And I was like, no, that was in February.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
I still dream about the delicious wine you recommended.
There's so many. You got the wine, and Jamie Bates Sloan got the moonshine pickles that she bought. I still remember she bought them for her husband, and then like the next day I saw her, and I was like, "Oh, don't forget, if you need to get more." And she was like, "Yeah, I need to get more. I already ate all of them and drank all that moonshine." I was like, "That was yesterday. What the hell?" And she's like, "Yeah, we may have had a little party in my room." I was like, "Well, where was I? Whoa, come on,
Right.
man." Yeah. But
That is so funny. Just use a good time. I'm also incredibly grateful for my hardworking students at Emporia State University, who brought incredible energy during a really hard time and really pulled through and made super thoughtful and very strong work. And I miss them incredibly, and I'll never forget them.
My name is Adam Kennedy, and I am grateful for a situation that the pandemic put me in where my mind was racing to occupy itself so much that I started thinking about things other than myself. The pandemic shut down the bulk of what I do for a living, and I had coronavirus, and I was quarantined at home with my wife, Amy, but trying to stay away from her. And Amy would work here in the kitchen a lot during the day, and I would go sit on the porch, which I had never done before at our home, sit on the porch for just hours at a time and enjoy the nothingness that was happening out there. And I listened to a book about immigrants and minority groups who had traveled to America, North America, and how they had been treated and classified and stereotyped and disadvantaged through generations, which led me to reading about the prison system in North America, which led me to learning about charities that try to offer resources for people who find themselves in jail or prison and can't afford resources to appeal cases, or even how do I try and help my family while I'm in this situation. Started writing letters to politicians. I had never done that before. I had never felt the motivation for that before, and had some really emotional days of just being angry at me that I had walked around for almost 40 years on the planet and had managed to spend the bulk of that time just thinking about things that I enjoy and how to make my own life better. And none of that probably would have happened if it weren't for the pandemic. The pandemic is not a positive. I'm not happy that it happened. I'm very sad for a lot of us, maybe even all of us in some regards, but it did create a scenario that I probably would have avoided had I not gotten the virus, had I not been sent home, where I wasn't so focused on work or my own money-making opportunities or my own enjoyments. And I was forced, I guess, for lack of a better word, to consider the lives of other people that had been so easy for me just to like shrug my shoulders about before. And they're like, oh, well, that's a bummer, but that's an isolated case. I don't have to worry about that. Like I'm a nice person. I don't have to worry about that. And that was a tough but valuable reckoning to think like, no, if I'm going to be a responsible human being, a responsible citizen of the earth, then I can't approach life like that, just shrugging off other people's pain and other people's hardship, because in a lot of these cases I was teaching myself about, people like me ignoring it makes it worse. But I'd always reckoned with myself that like, well, like I'm not adding to it, so I'm not part of the problem. Like, no, like not educating myself about it, not putting my money where my mouth is and trying to help organizations that want to make life more equal and fair for everybody. Like I was part of the problem. And so I now my task is now I need to keep motivated with those thoughts is hopefully the pandemic comes to an end and not just have this be a phase of my life where I can pat myself on the back of like how I did so much better for 9 months and then just go right back to things. So I'm grateful for what I think is a healthy mind and a new perspective on how to treat people and the damage that ignoring pain and suffering can add to the world.
Right. And I am Amy Kennedy, and thinking about the things I'm most grateful for this year, in addition to those things, that was beautiful. And so I'm going to go a different route. But Adam helped me learn along with him on that journey, and I'm very thankful for that. 3 other things that I'm really grateful for this year are a phrase that we say sometimes: worthwhile work, self-care, and the problems that we do have. So on worthwhile work, this year, obviously, a lot of people lost their jobs or went on furlough or got reduced hours, including people at my job and my work. And thankfully, I was only on reduced hours for 2 weeks. And then I was able to get called back in half my normal role and then half a different role. That was created because of the circumstances around the pandemic. I work at a hospital. And so I was able to keep my job the whole entire time, go to work every single day still. So I think that helped us not clash like a lot of our friends or panic
or
things
panic
like
about
that.
running out of money and resources. And like, it's a real problem I didn't think we thought we'd ever have to deal with.
Yeah. Because again, like hospitals, they're 24/7. And so, you'll always have a job, but then when it comes down to it for non-clinical staff, like, well, maybe you don't always have a job and stuff like that. So I'm really thankful for that stability, because with the business that we run, it took a different look this year than it ever had before. And so I was thankful for benefits. I was thankful for consistency. And I was also thankful that I still got to do the job that I really care about and love to do, even in this very unusual time. So I liked that we were able to pivot and still keep the consistency and the benefits that we had before. So that's worthwhile work. I focus on the employee experience, which was really tough this year. The employees were having a rough experience. And so getting to do a couple of projects that just kind of helped boost people's spirits was really great, in addition to the normal stuff that I do as well. So I learned a lot about self-care this year as well, which is the second thing that I am grateful for. I have taken more baths this year than I ever have in my life combined, probably. That has been my kind of getaway, and like in all of the stress and in all of the role changes. And, we have been impacted by the pandemic, although, probably not as much as some other people, but it was still really stressful and odd. And it's just weird, And so to have some time where I could just be by myself and watch the Great British Baking Show or whatever. I got into Glee for a while too. Don't judge me. But I watched that entire series of Glee, most of it from the bathtub, honestly. So some self-care. I did more face masks this year than I've ever done before. I started caring for houseplants, which has been really fun. I'm on number 6 now. They're all living, by the way, still. So I'm learning to care for them in a way where they don't die, which is different than my life before now. Yes. So, and I've learned to be thankful for things going on in the pandemic, like the whole mask. Like nobody likes a mask, but I found a way to go, you know what? I haven't had to wear makeup on the bottom half of my face for 10 months now. And I'm digging that. So, yeah. And so just different things like finding kind of the silver linings in the hardships has been good and a good way for me to kind of shift my perspective and stay positive. And then the last thing was the problems that we do have. And again, that kind of goes back to, we know a lot of people are struggling more than we are. And and we're in a place where, we don't have kids, so we didn't have to worry about virtual school or in-person school or learning at home while I am working out every single day. So just different things like that, that we are thankful for the problems that we do have, and we are thankful for the ones that we don't have. Like, we've still been getting along really, really well during the pandemic. We still like each other. And it's been really, really good because, again, I know that not everybody is having like a glorious experience being at home all the time with their significant other. And so we're just really appreciative of the time that we've gotten to spend together. And our problems look like our newest dog still doesn't know how to be house trained. So we've been working on that, but like in the grand scheme of things, when he got COVID, his symptoms were not huge. Had a couple of symptoms for a few days, 10 days altogether, probably with the fatigue and stuff like that. But I was really worried when we first found out that he had been exposed because we've been being so careful. And when he confirmed that he did have it, like, of course, I'm like, what's this going to mean? Like, is he going to be one of the people that ends up on a vent in the hospital, or is he going to be one of the people that, not much happens? And so I'm really thankful that despite the fact that he did get it, I didn't somehow, which is insane.
Go figure.
Our house is too small to officially quarantine from each other. So anyway, I was very thankful that even though we did go through some hardships, it wasn't as significant as it could have been, for sure. So it's been a good year overall. Weird one.
Yeah.
Definitely strange.
Yeah. 2020 didn't win. 2020 beat the shit out of a lot of us for several rounds of this boxing match, but 2020 didn't win.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the original Rocky, going into that 11th and 12th round,
all comes back to
right?
Rocky.
Where
What is this Rocky movie you're talking about? I've never heard of this. I thought you were going to pull a Remains Undefeated.
Oh yeah,
that too.
That's a good. Yeah, I've thought a lot about Chael Sonnen and Shannon Briggs and Rocky Balboa a lot this year. Yeah, but yeah, that scene of the 11th and 12th round of Rocky is a pretty powerful moment. If you can find enjoyment in sports movies, like where Rocky just got dismantled and obliterated that whole boxing match. But then everybody's yelling at Rocky to stay down when he gets knocked down that last time, and he gets up, and Apollo sees that he got up, and you can see that look on Apollo's face where David Goggins refers to it and says that Rocky took Apollo's soul in that moment, where it's just like, what do I have to do to beat this guy? I feel like 2020 is going to look at all of us and think like, what did I have to do to beat these people? Because it
did a lot.
It threw a lot at us. Yeah, we should all be proud in our own little ways.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
Unless you're a racist. Maybe. You maybe cut that part out.
It's got to stand because you said unless you're a racist, because that's the pin to that.
You can still keep beating on you.
Yeah.
But
take all your frustration out on that guy over there.
Yeah.
I will say another huge thing about 2020 that I appreciate is a lot of people who never saw systemic racism before saw it for the first time and started to understand privilege for the first time and things like that. And I've chaired our diversity and inclusion council at the hospital for 5 years now, close to 5 years. And so it was amazing and wonderful, some of the conversations that came from all of this really terrible hardship during 2020, specifically with Black Lives Matter and specifically with the idea of white privilege and things like that. A lot of people that I had conversations with that had never seen it before and never believed that it was a thing before are like, okay, I can see that. And so I think that that's another good, if you can say good, thing that's come out of 2020 is that people have kind of self-reflected a lot and realized like what parts of me are playing into the system and what parts of me do have racism built in because I grew up in a society where it's built in. And so I think a lot of people are realizing that like, oh, maybe we all have a little bit of racism in us. And so what can we do to, again, not just sit aside because sitting aside is contributing to the problem. So what can we do to stand up and stand in the gap and yes, be anti-racist, to use a term that is now very popular and that lots of people know. So we're trying to kind of do that ourselves too. What can we do to be more anti-racist, not just bystanders? So yeah, that's another great thing I think that's come out of this year during hard circumstances is some self-reflection and realizations.
Agree.
Thanks, Adam.
Sorry, that was a softball. That was just
It's all right.
So that is what we are grateful for in 2020.
If you all watch Jesus and Mero, all of that now is on your rainbow above.
There you go.
Yeah.
We're grateful for you, Jody.
Oh, gee, no. Cut, edit. We're gonna cut all that out.
Yeah, we're glad that you're our friend. We're sorry
Thank
we
you.
didn't get to see you in person very much this year.
We're just. I told a friend of mine the other day. I said, I'm just going to start hugging the shit out of random people next year. I was like, I'm going to ask for permission. I swear to God, I'm going to ask for permission.
Yeah, there you go.
But I would just be like, do you want a hug? I'm here. I'm ready. Let's go. Let's. And I'm a big dude, so I bet there are a lot of people like, yes, please, just.
You'll be one of those dudes with the free hug sign.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I haven't even hugged my parents since March. So, and we haven't been around, I haven't been around a person within 6 feet without a mask.
Yeah.
Since I guess early April is when we started.
If you could help it. I'm sure like walking in the grocery store, some people.
Me without a mask.
Oh, wait, you without a mask.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have never been without a mask, even though
Yeah.
others may have been around me, but I haven't. And so I'm grateful. I got my first vaccine shot
I saw that.
week.
I saw that. I saw the dance video.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, that's one of the happy things that I
That
got
was
to help
awesome.
our staff. That I got to coordinate for our staff. We were very excited that the vaccine was bringing some hope to the hospital. So some staff people that were really excited about it. We coordinated a little happy dance.
My name is Rachel Fletcher, and I am the founder of Knox Upholstery. This year, I am oddly enough grateful for the slowdown that happened. It really allowed me to do quite a bit of interpersonal work. I think this year, it's allowed me to grow tremendously on the inside. But as far as like a business aspect goes, I'm also grateful for the fact that I've had some pretty good publicity this year, I think. I'll get my name out there a little bit. I've had some features and some other podcasts and some interviews for a newspaper recently. And also following along that line of being grateful for things slowing down and business, it's allowed me to like focus on the things that are working and focus on the things that are not working. I've realized that my communication has been incredibly lacking this year as far as emails go. Like, I am the worst at checking my emails. I'm pretty good with text messages because they are always in my pocket, you know, that bzzz goes off. But yeah, I've realized I need to delegate some work out to other people because I am failing miserably at getting back to my clients. So in a way, I feel like that's kind of a silver lining because I've realized that that's a failure. I cannot do absolutely everything. There's no way.
Okay. So having the downtime has been allowed you to reassess your business. Has it also allowed you to reassess personal, like maybe even separating that work-life balance?
Yeah. I think, because I work from home and I've been really struggling over the past, I would say several years, you know, whether or not I want to continue to work from home or if I want to separate that out and get a storefront. You know, there are so many pros and cons to that because then you have to hire employees. Do I really want an employee? Employees are expensive. And then I have to take the time out to teach them how to upholster something, you know, which is quite the feat in itself. So I still don't have an answer to that. I know what I'd like to do, but is it feasible? I'm not so sure.
Okay. And also in the personal realm, has there been any new hobbies or anything you've taken on to distract you from both work and everything being on fire, literally sometimes at once?
Yes. I'm a plant person, as you can tell. But for the first time ever, I think just like thousands of people, I started a garden this year outside of the house. And I remember I think it was March 27th or 28th or so, you know, it was declared an emergency finally. And I was like, what am I going to do? You know, because work was kind of slowing down because people weren't calling. And I was like, I like plants. Maybe I can start to grow something that I can actually eat, right? And so I had ordered, you know, earlier in the year, I'd ordered a whole bunch of like tomato plants and some seeds. And so one day I sat out there, it was around 1 o'clock. I knocked off work early. 1 o'clock, I poured myself a scotch at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, like on a Tuesday, which felt so alien to me. And I sat down with a piece of paper and a pen. I just started to mark out a garden, you know, where I want to put my tomato plants, my eggplants, and all of my seeds. And I had realized that the sun was beating down on me. It was feeling really good, but it was completely quiet in the neighborhood because no one was driving anywhere. And it was so peaceful. Like, that is still something that I think about because I felt so zen, you know, and of course that scotch helped a little bit with that, the warmth, you know, in my belly, but it was a really peaceful time that I had that day. And it really allowed me to just kind of meditate on my own, you know, how I was going to deal with the rest of the year. But I also planted a really great garden and I had like these tomato plants that were like 12 feet tall. And I kept having to build these trellises, eggplants, which I've never grown before. And those are really good. So I picked up a really good hobby. I was out there quite a bit, got sunburned like crazy this summer because I was out there so much, just digging, you know, putting my hands into the dirt. But man, it feels really good.
Did you do anything that kind of failed that made you kind of reassess or learn from that failure?
This year, a failure. Oh gosh. I mean, a bunch of failures I'm not going to get into.
Okay. Yeah.
That's for my therapist.
Yeah, we're keeping it. We're staying on the positive train here.
Right.
We're staying on the positive train.
I don't know if there's anything I'd want to share necessarily. Okay. But what I can say though is that like I don't view failures as like, you know, this horrible thing that happens. I always view them as like a learning, you know, point. And so I've learned a lot of things this year from those failures. I've learned that I am way more patient than I thought I was. And so that's also been a really huge silver lining for me this year, that I actually do have the patience to deal with, different personalities and people in my life and the way that things go that, it's not so bad. It might be bad, but I can get through this and get out well on the other end.
Yeah. I cannot get through a podcast without mentioning Kevin Smith. It used to be Joe Rogan. Now it's Kevin Smith. Oh, well, it used to be Kevin Smith and Joe Rogan, but now he has a great quote that is, failure is just success training, which I think is really good.
Yes, that's so true.
No matter how big or small.
Yeah, because if you don't learn from your failures, how are you going to grow as a person? It's impossible. So, I mean, unless you're happy to be in that place where you're going to continue to make those same mistakes over and over again, which, but yeah, you have to be able to grow from those things.
I think I can think of many different things that I have done over and over again, even though I've known failures. I was about to get into my stupid coffee thing. Yeah. Going to the Fellini and getting coffee instead going to the Martha Stewart and getting coffee and realizing I don't like the Fellini coffee. And I'll sit there and drink it and go, this sucks, man. Why did I do that? Life's too short for bad coffee. That's my quote.
So is.
That's my quote.
It's I mean, bad. Yeah, bad anything. Especially if you're ingesting it, it's because like I view my coffee and my tea and my scotch, like it has to be like the good stuff because you want to sit there and enjoy it and just take your time. So.
Oh my God. Okay. I have an idea how we're going to go out.
Okay.
Best scotch recommendation for someone on a budget.
Oh, I don't have one.
You're like, nothing. None of it is on a budget. Go big or go home. It's not.
It depends on what the budget is, right?
Okay.
Because I like the Macallan and the Talisker. Okay. Those are like in the $60, $80, $90 range.
Okay.
They have more or less, but like I really love those.
Okay. I am not a scotch person, and I had Lefroy 12 the other night that somebody brought, and I was like, okay, it's fine.
I'm not familiar with that one. I don't know.
It's like Laghhoure. Like it's not. It's not.
Okay.
Yeah. It's one of those. If you read it, it's not how it's. Those drive me nuts. Like,
yeah.
The only one I really want is, I don't know. Are you a fan of Parks and Rec?
No. Oh wait. Oh, Parks and Rec. Yes, the show.
Yes.
I am. Sorry. I was still in Scotchland.
Oh yeah. Well, Lagavulin came out with a Ron Swanson or a Nick Offerman edition, and I was like, I don't like scotch. I want that scotch. Like, I may not drink that scotch. I want that scotch.
Right. Anything with his branding on it. Like,
yeah.
I am
Anything with his. Okay. So your advice is go big or go home. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I would love to find like a cheaper scotch just so I can like keep my budget.
Yeah.
in line.
Oh my God. All right.
Jessie Balin. And this year, I am grateful for my health and my family. In a year that's been beyond crazy, I am very happy that everyone I know and love has come out the other side of it intact and healthy. And when I haven't been able to see friends, I've still been able to have my family. My sister was able to get married in August with all of it. And even though we had to see it on Zoom, we still were able to do it as a family, able to see it. And she's now pregnant. My brother and my sister-in-law are also pregnant. So we have a lot of joy in a very scary world. And it's been a beautiful, beautiful year with everything else.
My name is Brandon Gibson, and in 2020, I'm grateful for a surprising amount of things. It has been the strangest, probably most difficult year of my life in some ways, just in what has happened. I've not been anywhere other than, I guess, my job before I left it. More on that later. But in 9 months, nowhere. Like a lot of people say that, but really, I get my groceries delivered. I, for 9 months, went to work and came home, and I've been here, you know, staying healthy, knock on wood, and avoiding Corona. And for me, that has been a huge change in lifestyle that I can't even comprehend, and that I just try not to think about and will not dedicate any large amount of thought to until it's over, because, you know, we're closer to the end but not quite there yet. And I feel like if I stop to think about it, I will be overwhelmed. But in spite of that, I guess, Brandon, to say professionally, 2020 has been a great year for me, which is so weird to even think about. But before the lockdown, I'm grateful for what? There was an opera that was written for me, basically specifically to star in. And I did that. The premiere was successful, went off without a hitch. My company that I worked for produced it and raised all the money for it. And then I, you know, sung the lead in it too, on top of all that. The fruition of several years worth of work. Premiered it on my deceased mother's birthday and didn't, you know, die from crying because of that. And even got to perform it for my old high school, which was a big deal. I'm grateful for that performance, to really go back to, you know, the greatest high school in Knoxville, Tennessee, Austin East Performing Arts and Sciences, Magnet High School, you know, where it all began for me theatrically, to perform on that stage. You know, I hadn't been back to AE since graduation, really. So was that 15 years ago? Basically, to go back to that stage where it all started and to get to perform, you know, there for the students there and to have them respond, and, you know, just to see one of their own tell a story on that stage in a professional capacity was huge. And that could have been it for the year. I kind of assumed it was going to be it for the year. But then over the summer, I had the opportunity to write a libretto for a brand new opera that is going to premiere in probably another year and a half. But that's never something I thought I'd ever have the opportunity or the time to do. You know, people always said to me, "Oh, Brandon, you should write more." I was like, "With what time?" You know, job, performing these things. You know, like, with what time? Yeah. When I retire, I'll get on that. But enter lockdown and enter opportunity, and had the opportunity to do something that I think is going to be pretty special when it's all said and done. And again, not something I would have ever had the time or even the inspiration to do before this year. It's an opera about, you know, social justice and that sort of thing. And without the tragedies of the spring, you know, the various far too numerous instances of, you know, crime, calling what it is, by police against people of color, I wouldn't have had the inspiration or the opportunity to do that. And so did that over the summer and early fall, I guess. Didn't take me too long to finish that up. And so I'm grateful for that opportunity. Also had the opportunity to speak at my first conference, which was a deal, again, on Zoom, because such a weird year it's been, but still spoke at a conference at UT over Zoom, which again is not something I ever assumed I'd have the opportunity to do, or not even something I ever thought about doing, but actually gave a speech to, the department that I would have majored in had I not majored in, theater and music, and didn't even graduate from UT, but here I am, giving a speech in front of this department about, what I do on a daily basis. And that was special, and again, weird, because it was again from my spare bedroom in my apartment. And so it was like, all right, get dressed, make sure you tie it straight, to, sit in front of your laptop and speak before the whole college. And so great opportunity, was given to me by, a friend recommended me for it. So I'm grateful for that. And it was an awesome opportunity. My co-presenter was this, uber professional woman from, again, another college, another state, all these credentials and me. And it was like, wow, this is cool. But again, so weird because I'm doing it from my spare bedroom apartment. So grateful for that opportunity. What else? And then, like I said I'd touch on this later, but again, completely quit my day job, in large part just because I wanted to survive, COVID, and make sure that I was not putting myself at undue risk for that. But ultimately, it's turned out to be a much bigger step in my professional life. I do more freelance type stuff, and I've gone back to school and working on that, and just a whole new direction for my life that I never thought about or would have had the time or the opportunity to pursue. And so in light of all the tragedy that has occurred and that continues to occur as we fight through this last stage of what's going on this year, the time that it has afforded, and the time for introspection, the time for just breath, the time to make you appreciate things and make you appreciate that very basic thing, breath, the respiratory disease. So people are literally, gasping for air. It makes you think about each breath and each moment that you have in a different light, and really makes you put added importance to each one of those moments, makes you not want to waste any of that time anymore. And so I am grateful for that, because my life was a million miles an hour all the time, like for the entirety of my adult life. I've never not been doing 5 or 7 different things. And so this has been a complete change, but I'll say, for the best, for the better. And even when life goes back to normal, quote unquote, whatever that will be, and whenever we get there, I will still take these lessons learned with me into that time. And I'm grateful for every one of them. So happy 2020.